Grief makes you believe the first story you're given. I tried. I failed. My husband's death didn't make sense. Not the route, not the time, not the silence. Then I found a tiny key sewn inside his old work glove. It fit a safe I'd walked past for years. When the door opened, the truth didn't shout. It clicked, one paper at a time, and I realized that if I didn't act fast, I could be the next victim in this story. Before I show you what was inside, tell me where you're watching from, country and city, in the comments. The outcome of this story will surprise you. They called it an accident because accident is a merciful word. It stacks neatly beside casseroles and sympathy, smooths out the corners of a headline, lets neighbors nod without asking questions that would keep them up. I tried to live inside that word for a week. It didn't fit. The night they told me, the caller used language that had been ironed flat. Single vehicle incident, pronounced at the scene. Time of call, 7:18 p.m. She apologized like she'd practiced. She had. I said, thank you, because grief makes you polite in stupid places. People brought food and sentences. The sentences came in two styles, the past tense of praise, he was so, and the conditional promise of help, if you need anything. The food knew where to go. The sentences hung in doorways like guests who aren't sure they're invited. At the funeral, Liam, Nate's younger brother, stood by the coffee urn wearing a suit that had borrowed his shoulders. He hugged me too hard and then too softly, like both versions might fix something. I'll take care of things, he said, meaning anything he could lift. Cassie, his wife, arrived late and air-kissed the air near my cheek. Surreal, she murmured, as if it were a weather report. She smells like order and plans. After the service, people migrated to my kitchen and pretended the accident report on the counter wasn't a centerpiece. I hadn't meant to print it. Paper just happens around me when truth is slippery. 2 pages of boxes, neat absolutions, no alcohol suspected, no other vehicles, speed unknown, seatbelt unconfirmed. What had me by the throat was the time of the first call, 7:18 p.m. When the house finally exhaled, I stacked quiet things, cups, lids, the lidless. I turned the report over, then back, like a mother checking a sleeping baby's breath. A refrigerator magnet shaped like a tomato watched me make a religion out of tidying. 2 days later, I found a toll receipt in the catch-all by the front door, a damp, crumpled square that looked like it had gone swimming in a pocket. Route 90, 7:41 p.m. 23 minutes after the time the report says my husband stopped being able to pass a toll plaza at all. I set the receipt under the tomato magnet like a child pinning art that might be evidence. My mind auditioned explanations. The clock at the toll was off. The officer rounded down. The time was when the call logged, not when the world did what it did. Grief hires maybe on the spot and pays it too well. Detective Riley came by to return Nate's wallet and a plastic bag of ordinary artifacts made holy by sequence. Watch, ring, a key that didn't unlock the week. 7:18 is the first 911, he said. EMS pronounced 7:33. What about a Route 90 toll at 7:41? I asked, casual like a person asking about weather. He didn't blink. Different driver, systems, glitch. He was gentle with his tone, gentler with his exit. That night, I went to the garage because garage air tells the truth about who someone was. Oil, dust, heat, the good stubborn of tools older than you. Nate's workbench kept its neatness. His pegboard kept its hierarchy. Under the bottom shelf sat the old safe, square, rusty, a small dog that never barked. He used to pat it and call it Grandpa Tech. Nonsense in there, he'd say. Nothing you need. I put my hand on the metal. It was cool and uninterested in metaphors. What are you keeping from me? I asked it. Safes are fluent in silence. A week is long when no sentence fits. Neighbors stopped bringing food. The sympathy cards on the mantelist began to slope. I wore the same sweater 3 days, then its twin out of spite. Liam came with groceries and the posture of a man begging for an assignment. He unpacked pasta and tomatoes and placed a loaf like a truce. Cassie arrived later with a white binder. Tabs, pockets, pre-stamped envelopes, the costume of competence. I can handle the insurance calls, she offered. Bright, helpful, a little too fast. The sooner the better with these things. She patted my hand with precise gentleness. The binder's spine read, arrangements, in a font that believed in itself. I said, tomorrow. She smiled like a checklist that had found a pen. After they left, the kitchen returned to being a room. The binder sat on the island like a cheerful invader. I flipped. Tabs chirped, policy, bank, estate, neat, empty forms. I slid it into a cabinet with cutting boards that haven't yet earned wall hooks. Then I went back to the garage, because some questions refused to sit in polite rooms. Nate's work gloves lay on the bench, palms darkened by honest work. I slipped my hand into one and felt something hard where soft should be. I turned the glove inside out. There, at the hem, a little slit, stitches like a healed secret. I teased thread with a screwdriver point until a tiny brass key slid into my palm and gave me permission to exhale. He would do this, I thought. Hide a key in a glove because he believed you hide keys near the hands that earn them. The key fit. The lock turned with elderly dignity. The door sighed open and released a scent of paper and time and a faint ghost of his cologne. Inside, a manila envelope labeled in Nate's blocky hand, Plan, Liam, a cloth bag with a small, arrogant weight, a stack of documents tied with twine, because of course, and a USB drive taped to the back with blue painter's tape. I lifted Plan, Liam first, a draft agreement, notarization page blank, laying out a plan to split an amount big enough to change climates between Nate and Liam. Simple language, clear intent. At the bottom, tucked neat as an adverb, a contingency clause. If Party A deceases prior to execution, his portion reverts in full to Party B, pending probate. A small star in the margin and Nate's handwriting. Intent, you're 50-50, delay only. Twine off, statements underneath. Accounts I'd never seen. Logos that charge extra for their secrecy. Numbers that made oxygen sharp. The cloth bag held gold coins and bundled cashier's checks with a date from 2 weeks before he died. My hands returned everything to where it had been, like a guest who cleans before leaving. I pocketed the USB, not because I didn't trust paper, but because sound carries things ink can't. Back in the kitchen, I spread the draft like a map. The contingency clause stared, legal and hungry. The toll slip on the fridge stared back. 7:41 p.m. If someone heard this plan and misunderstood delay, death could look like a shortcut. My phone buzzed. Cassie, how are you? I can call the insurance and get the ball rolling. The sooner the better. Heart emoji. I stared at the screen while the safe's cool air remembered my wrist. Tomorrow, I typed. Another buzz. Happy to sit with you while you do it. I'm good with forms. Winky face. I set the phone face down and let suspicion stop pretending it was impolite. I brought the draft back to the garage, put everything exactly as it had been, preservation before justice, Hernan always says, then sat on Nate's stool and listened to the room breathe. Old houses breathe too. They tell you where the weight is. Mine said kitchen table. Next morning I called Hernan, the attorney with the gift of turning panic into paragraphs. Preserve, then proceed, he said. Screenshots, scans, bank flags, get logs, insurer, bank, any calls about beneficiaries. Don't confront, set terms. I called the bank and placed dual authorization on outbound transfers and beneficiary changes. I requested a call log from the insurer and asked for voice authentication clips if any calls had tried to verify Nate. Boring requests are catnip to the truth. Then I texted Liam, "Can you come by at 2? Just you." "Of course," he replied. "Anything." He arrived in the funeral suit without the tie, a compromise that made me want to feed him. He scanned the draft, reread the number, then sat without being told. When people sit fast, they're telling the truth. "We talked about sharing," he said, voice ruin soft. He said it changes nothing between us, just makes things easier. Monday we'd call the lawyer. Friday we were doing burgers and a dumb car documentary. He smiled like he hated his mouth for remembering. "Friday," I said. "What time did he text you last?" 5. Said he might be late. That's it. He rubbed his temple. Cassie had a wine night. Left around 6, came back because she forgot something, left again. I can check the door cam. We watched the footage bent over his phone like parishioners. 6:05 out, 6:14 back, 6:17 out again. No motion until 9:23. 17 minutes from their house to Route 90. Toll 741. Numbers began to lean toward each other. "What did she forget?" I asked. She said her purse. He shrugged with his whole body, an apology for not being omniscient. I plugged the USB into my laptop. 3 files: ledger, PDF, draft share, docx, audio 17s, M4A. I pressed play. Nate's voice stepped into my kitchen like it had been waiting on the porch. "Friday's easy," he laughed, that little laugh he used on money and stubborn screws. "Burgers, then Monday we call the lawyer. No back doors. I want it clean." "Half is too much," Liam's voice answered, embarrassed. "Half is the point," Nate said. "You were there when—" The clip ended because that's how long it was. 17 seconds of men who had been boys and kept some of their good mistakes. Liam covered his face. "He wanted it clean," he said, finger muffled. "Slow and clean." "I know," I said, and realized I did. The clause felt less like a plan and more like bait for the wrong ears. If A dies before execution, B gets all. If someone who loved money more than Nate overheard that sentence, you wouldn't need a conspiracy. You'd only need a push. My phone lit. "Cassie. Update? Want me to swing by to help with the policies?" Heart plus folded hands. She is excellent at emoji costume changes. "Tell me everything about Friday from your side," I said to Liam. No adjectives, no apologies. He tried. He did well. He gave me times, not feelings. He told me where he was when he wasn't with Nate, and what was on the TV, and how the lasagna had burned because he forgot to cover it. The kind of detail that doesn't help a case and helps everything else. "Okay," I said finally. "Here's what I have. A draft to split a fortune. A contingency clause that would hand everything to you if Nate died before the signatures. A toll at 7:41. Cassie's exits. 6:05, 6:14, 6.17. An eager binder. And an audio clip where Nate says no back doors. If the report is right, paper should agree. If the report is wrong, paper will stutter." Liam pressed his palms flat on the island, grounding himself against an invisible wave. "What do you need me to do?" "Stand still," I said. "Tell the truth. And please, don't tell Cassie about the safe, the clause, or the audio." "Not yet." He nodded, relief and fear braiding. "I won't. When she asks," I added, "say, Eve's handling it with the lawyer. It's true." He swallowed. "Do you think—" He couldn't say her name and the verb in the same sentence. "I think someone heard a clause and mistook it for a plan," I said. "And I think the person who keeps saying, the sooner the better with these things, might be talking about a different these things than the rest of us." We stood in the kind of silence that organizes itself. In it, I made small decisions that felt like architecture. Call Hernan again and send scans. Request voice logs from the insurer. Have him push a preservation letter for any recordings. Ask Detective Riley to cross-check toll time with traffic cam. Flag the bank for any beneficiary inquiry calls tied to numbers I didn't recognize. Do not confront Cassie yet. Confrontation is theater. Terms are rails. When Liam left, he touched the door frame the way Nate used to. A habit, a blessing, a measuring of height against wood. I watched his hand and believed it. Hands tell the truth better than mouths when family is involved. I put the draft back in the safe, the USB in a tiny dish by the coffee maker where I keep things that should scare me less if I see them, and the toll receipt back under the tomato. Then I cleaned the counter that didn't need it and told the house out loud, if I don't act fast, I could be the next victim in this story. The porch light hummed, on a timer, not a conscience. I turned it dim, not off, not bright. Dim is for thresholds, and I had just found one. Morning makes brave noises. Kettle, birds, the neighbor's truck, like it can organize the past if it starts early enough. I set 3 stations on the kitchen table, the way Nate set sockets in size order. Scan, call, write. Panic may be theatrical, but paper is patient. I chose patient. Scan. I treated the flatbed like a reliquary. Draft agreement, statements, the starred contingency clause, toll slip. Each fed through, named like a boring archivist. Safe, draft share V1. PDF, safe statements, date. PDF, clause contingency. JPG, toll 1941. JPG. I made a folder labeled pine cones because I refused to name anything after crimes. Pine cones are stubborn, symmetrical, and older than lawyers. Write, yellow pad, top line boxed, preserve, then proceed. I listed, items 01, draft agreement. Plan, Liam, notarization blank. Item 02, contingency clause. If Party A deceases prior to execution, his portion reverts in full to Party B, pending probate. Margin note, Nate. Intent, 1 50-50, delay only. Item 03, statements, private banking logos I had never seen in my kitchen. Item 04, cashier's checks dated 2 weeks pre-accident. Item 05, cloth bag of coins, approx weight noted. Item 06, USB, ledger, PDF, draft, share. DocX, audio consonants, M4A. Item 07, toll receipt, Route 90, 7:41 p.m. Item 08, Cassie's arrangements binder, tabs, blank forms, a helpful smile stapled to plastic. Call, first, Hernan, because his voice turns panic into paragraphs. I gave him the facts, no adjectives. Fortune, split plan, clause that would hand everything to Liam if Nate died before signatures, toll at 7:41, Liam's door cam times, 6:05 out, 6:14 back, 6:17 out, Cassie's eagerness with policy calls. Rails, he said, and numbered them like studs in a wall. Rail 1, preservation. Email scans. I'll issue letters to bank, insurer, toll authority. We want call audio, IVR logs, agent notes, camera stills, no shredders, no routine purges. Rail 2, financial flags. Call your bank. Add dual authorization on outflows and a no beneficiary change hold without both signers in person. Ask for a list of recent inquiry calls with origin numbers. Rail 3, documentation discipline. Every file has a name. Every call has a time-stamped note. Present tense, it keeps grief from narrating. Rail 4, controlled contact. No confrontations. Ask small factual questions that don't teach. If she volunteers details you didn't ask for, write them down verbatim. He paused. You're doing well, Eve. I hung up and called the bank. A manager with a polished wood voice confirmed the dual auth flag and placed a beneficiary change hold that requires both signers with ID. Recent inquiries? I asked. Keys clicked. 2 calls last week, he said. General policy questions, then an attempt to verify beneficiary information. Caller failed a challenge question. He read an origin number with our local area code. I wrote it down. Do you record inbound? I asked. We do. Preservation letter incoming, I said, and pictured Hernan shrugging into his stationery. Next, the insurer. The IVR was sugary. The human was steady. Any recent contact before the claim? I asked. 2, she said. Monday 11:12 a.m. and Wednesday 6:16 p.m. Monday's caller asked, quote, what happens if insured passes before a beneficiary change is signed? Agent notes. Female voice. Local area code. Wednesday's was masked. I felt my pen hesitate. Do you record? For quality and training, and because lawyers exist, she said, wry. I thanked her and asked for an access timeline for the last 30 days. Of course, she said softly. People who handle claims learn to speak like pillows. I opened the USB while my inbox waited. Ledger. PDF was Nate's brain in columns. Date, amount, from to, notes that sounded like him. From old 401k, dust, to taxes, for once, on time. From coins because I'm a magpie, to coins because I cannot stop. Footer, Monday, call H, clean, slow, no backdoors. He had written himself a rule and followed it right up to the part where life refused to. Draft, share. Docs matched the printed draft but held a sidebar of Nate's comments like friendly ghosts. Ask H. If clause needed while waiting, don't want Liam exposed, think through taxes. Tell Eve the long version. She'll hate the short. I closed the file because sometimes respect looks like not clicking more. Ping. Email from the insurer. Account access timeline. There they were in tidy rows. Mon 11:12 a.m. Inbound, female voice, local number, WED 6:16 p.m. inbound, masked, voicemail left, no outbound because of verification rules. I forwarded to Hernan with the subject preserve audio, Mon WED, and texted female, local, asking clause question. He replied, Riley looped, hold steady. I made a sandwich because hunger ruins judgment and I needed mine awake. As I chewed, I opened the audio 17s. Nate's voice arrived and rearranged the room. Friday's easy, burgers. Monday we call H, no back doors. I want it clean. Liam's laugh came warm, embarrassed. Half is too much. Nate, half is the point. You were there when... Clip ended. 17 seconds, enough to put light under the clause. I transcribed and printed it. Paper likes company. My phone buzzed. Liam, Cassie wants to drop off soup. Should I say you're resting? Me. Yes. Say I'm with the lawyer. True enough to pass inspection. I pulled Cassie's white arrangements binder from the cabinet and flipped. Blank forms stared back like eager students. In the back pocket, a post-it I hadn't clocked yesterday clung to plastic. Jenna, wed, 6:30. The doorcam times I'd watched on Liam's phone. 6:05 out, 6:14 back, 6:17 out. 17 minutes from their house to Route 90, toll 741. Facts are not conclusions, but they like to hold hands. I called Detective Riley. I need time to behave, I said, and gave him mine. Toll at 741, insurer Monday call with female voice, bank Wednesday inquiry from a different local number. Send it, he said. I'll pull toll stills at 1941 and check traffic cams near County 12 for 40 minutes before/after. If a car that looks like his was elsewhere, we'll know. He didn't patronize me with let it go. And Eve, don't do anything loud. People who feel watched mop with gasoline. I'm boring, I said. Good, he said. Boring solves cases. At 4:11 p.m., Hernan called, preservation letters acknowledged. He'd also filed a formal notice to the insurer and bank. Any further attempt to alter beneficiaries or impersonate Nate would be treated as fraudulent inducement. It plants a sign on the lawn, he said. Now for terms. When we're ready, we invite the necessary person to your kitchen table with a witness on the phone and a recorder in plain sight. 2 options. Confess and cooperate, or paper and police. No yelling. You will raise documents. Rails, I said. Rails, he agreed. I drafted kitchen table terms on my yellow pad, handwriting steady, confession and cooperation, on record, full account of actions regarding policy calls, any contact with bank, insurer, any knowledge of accident timing, renunciation of any claim arising from contingency clause or estate maneuver, restitution of induced costs, legal admin, no contact with insurer, bank without counsel present, civility and safety, no harassment, no unannounced visits, police mediation if needed. Tell the truth while the porch light is on. I taped the list inside a manila folder labeled Terms and set it beside safe. The house rewarded me with a small, neutral quiet, the kind that arrives when a plan sits down and buckles its seatbelt. At 5:02, Liam again. Thank you for today. I sent a thumbs up and a, we'll handle this slow and clean. He replied with a ... then nothing. Some men don't know how to text the shape their shoulders make when relief loosens them. Dusk made a decision outside. I re-listened to Audio 17s once, then put the drive away. My inbox pinged again. Insurer audio, Monday 11/12, released under preservation. I forwarded it to Hernan and pressed play with headphones because I wanted the voice in a smaller room than my house. Hold music. Then the agent. A woman, steady, warm, trained, asked the kind of questions civilians don't. Contingent vesting, reversion to designated party, probate hold. She kept her tone bright, an actress who rehearsed helpfulness in a mirror. The agent explained policy. The caller ended with a wonderful, not grief, not confusion, satisfaction. I stopped the file. I didn't need to recognize the voice to recognize the posture. I texted Hernan, heard audio, female, local, polished, last word, wonderful, holding steady. He, good. Riley gets copy at dawn. Tonight, doors locked, camera on, boring dinner. Boring dinner, toast and an egg. I ate like it was a strategy. The doorbell didn't ring, but my phone chimed. Cassie, soup on your porch. Didn't want to bother you. Love you. A heart. I opened the porch camera instead of the door. A clean hand entered frame, set down a container, turned with choreography that didn't touch the bell. I carried the soup to the fridge unopened. Preservation applies to food and evidence both. Email from the bank, call summary, wed 2:03 p.m. An inbound, attempted beneficiary verification on private account, failed challenge, origin number also local, different last 4 from the insurer call. 2 local numbers, 1 masked. Monday and Wednesday bookended like a plan practicing its lines. I printed the insurer timeline, bank summary, audio transcript, and my inventory, and stacked them on the island with the claws on top, teeth up. I set a small audio recorder by the fruit bowl where guests would see it and adjust their honesty accordingly. At 7:06 p.m., my calendar surfaced a reminder it had made by itself from a scan. Friday, 7:40 p.m. Cassie home early. A note I'd found in the safe, now echoed by software that thinks it's helpful. I didn't delete it. I need to know what ambitious time looks like when it wears numbers. I messaged Liam for the door cam clips, 6:05, 6:14, 6:17, and he sent them with shaky captions. Meant to send earlier, sorry. The clips were boring in the way I love. Timestamps, porch, a familiar silhouette moving like she owns minutes. I called Riley once more before quiet hours. Audio received, he said. We've requested toll stills and nearby pump cam footage. If someone we know was on 90 at 7:41, I'll have a still. Sit tight. I'm sitting boring, I said. He chuckled like a man who has seen boring outlast drama. Good. I walked to the garage to check the safe, not because I thought paper grows legs, but because reassurance is a ritual. Everything sat where I left it. Plan, Liam envelope, statements, coins, USB tape residue like a pale ring on the metal. The cloth bag of coins, 3 on top, 1 with that hairline C-scratch, looked like a metaphor I refused to adopt without a vote. Back in the kitchen, I added a final line to inventory. Item 09, insurer call audio, Mon 1112, female voice, local. Last word, wonderful. Under it, I wrote, smaller. If I don't act fast, I could be next. Not melodrama, arithmetic. If someone accelerated a clause once, they could accelerate again. I locked the door, checked the window latches, and dimmed the porch light 1 notch. Not dark, not bright, threshold. Then I sat with the kitchen table terms and read them aloud until my voice lost its shake. Confess and cooperate or paper and police. Civility, safety, restitution. Tell the truth while the porch light is on. My phone vibrated on the counter, not a text, an unknown call that let the first ring die. I watched the screen until it gave up. Some people test doors before they knock. I placed the recorder next to the phone and left them there like 2 small witnesses. The house made the small hum it makes when electricity behaves. Somewhere on the street, a car passed at a law-abiding speed. I thought about Monday's careful caller and her wonderful, about Wednesday's failed verification, about a toll that refused to pretend time was flexible. I thought about Cassie's binder and her emoji wardrobe, about her hand on my porch, precise and clean. I didn't decide guilt. I decided order. In the morning, copies to Riley, preservation receipt confirmations, a calm ask to Liam for Wi-Fi logs if he could get them without turning the house into a theater. Then, if the rails held, we would bring the necessary person to this table, under this light, with this recorder on, and let paper do what paper does when it's invited instead of subpoenaed. Before bed, I stood in the doorway and looked at the tomato magnet holding the 741 like it was a moon phase. I touched it the way Liam touches door frames, a small secular blessing, and said to the room, we're going to keep this boring. Boring saves lives. The porch light agreed with a filament whisper. It stayed dim, which is the courage level for nights when truth is almost ready to come in. Morning put on its polite face and knocked. A text from Hernan with 3 words. Rails hold. Proceed. I felt my shoulders answer like they'd been asked a direct question. I made coffee that didn't apologize for being coffee and opened a fresh page on the yellow pad. Today, time plus proof, 8:07 a.m. Riley. He'd already pulled the toll still from Route 90. Sending now, he said. The image arrived while we were still on the phone. A grainy frame, gray sky, lane markers, a vehicle moving through with the impatient blur of someone who knows this isn't the interesting part of their evening. Not Nate's sedan, an SUV. The crop didn't catch a plate, but it gave me a gift, a rear window sticker, small white script in the lower left corner that read, "Be kind." Not unique, not rare. But I'd seen that exact decal on Cassie's tailgate when she parallel parked like a person who practices in secret. Riley didn't say her name. I didn't say it either. He just marked the time on the still, 19:41:03. The camera's internal clock stamped it like a notary who didn't care about anyone's feelings. I'll canvass the gas stations along the 90 exits, he said. Some have pumps pointed toward the highway. If we get lucky, we'll get a plate. If we get luckier, we'll get a driver. Do you want me to come? I asked. No, he said. I want you to do something that looks like your life. So I did. I vacuumed. I've never vacuumed as an investigative technique before, but Holmes liked to be convinced nothing fascinating is happening. It makes other people's nerves slow down when they step inside. Between strokes, I wrote questions for Liam, neat and boring, a survey no one could accuse of trying to teach. 9:31 a.m. Bank reply. The manager sent a call detail log. 2 inbound numbers with our local area code. Wednesday's caller failed challenge question number 2, nickname on the account. Then tried an answer, stalled, and hung up. He attached a snippet of the agent's typed notes. Caller stated she is helping with arrangements and asked if beneficiaries are locked if someone passes before a signed change. She, arrangements. I turned my head toward the cabinet, where Cassie's white binder sat like a well-behaved dog. 10:04 a.m. Insurer audio, Wednesday. The second recording arrived. A voicemail left from a masked number, evening voice with theatrical calm. Calling to confirm if beneficiary change would revert to designated party if the insured were to pass before execution. Please return call after hours. The kind of message that knows a working mom might listen in her car and push it until tomorrow. I stared at the timestamp, 18:16, and at my scribble from Liam's door cam, 6:17 p.m. Cassie had left again at 6:17, the first minute of not being at home, and a call had asked exactly the question that would make our lives very small, very fast. 10:38 a.m. Liam. He came in quiet, eyes soft with the kind of tired that tries to be polite. I pushed a mug toward him and the inventory pad so he could see how boring our day would be. I need router logs, I said. If you can pull them without turning your kitchen into a courtroom. Like Wi-Fi connections? He asked. Just a list of devices and when they were online, I said. If it's too much, we can ask Riley for a warrant later. It's not, he said, already pulling out his phone. Our router app keeps a week of history. He swiped, frowned, handed me the screen. Wednesday, 6:12 p.m., 6:19 p.m. Cassie's MacBook Pro connected to Wi-Fi from the driveway. She came back because she forgot her purse, he said, realizing the overlap even as he explained it. Her laptop auto-joins once it's in range. And if a person wanted their call to look like it came from home, I said, they'd make sure they were within the house network while they dialed. I let the quiet agree for us. He pinched the bridge of his nose. I can export a CSV, he said. It'll show device, MAC address, time connected. Please, I said, send it to me and to Hernan. We watched the little progress circle spin like a penny losing interest. When it finished, he forwarded. I added item 10, router log export, Cassie's MBP on network, WED 6:12-6:19, driveway. I slid him the toll still by way of reminder, not accusation. He took it in, all the way to the Be Kind sticker. His mouth made the shape of the word no without pronouncing it, because sometimes sound is disrespectful. He pushed the photo back like it was a plate of something he might have loved yesterday. I don't know how to square my wife with this, he said, voice quiet enough to keep all our molecules from shaking. You don't have to square it yet, I said. We're drawing lines. Squares come later. He nodded, thanked me for letting nouns do the heavy lifting and pulled another thread. She asked me Monday, out of nowhere, if we should simplify our beneficiaries now that Nate's gone, he said. I shrugged. I said we don't have much to leave. She said, oh, you never know. So he looked like he wanted to apologize for the sentence even as he delivered it. Write it down, I said, sliding him a second pad. Exact words if you can. Date if you remember. Time if you can guess without lying. He wrote. I didn't watch his face. I watched his pen, because pens don't try to save anyone. 11:22 a.m. Riley again. Got lucky, he said. Pump cam at a quick fuel 2 exits past your toll. Clips at 7:38, 7:43. I can't vouch for compression artifacts, but I'm sending you 3 frames. They arrived in sequence. First, an SUV nose-in at a pump. Second, driver's profile through the windshield as she checked her phone. Third, a plate half caught during pull-away. I didn't need the plate. I knew the hoop earrings I've seen on my porch. I knew the blazer she favors when she wants to look like she belongs to the category called prepared. It was Cassie, with good hair and a better alibi than she'd expected to have to invent. Riley, I said softly, thank you. I didn't hand you a conviction, he said. I handed you place and time. What you do with it is Hernan's business, and a little mine. I'll keep it boring, I said. Please do, he said, and clicked off. Noon, small mercy. I let Liam decide lunch because decisions are how men like him feel useful. He picked a diner up the road where the menu has been laminated since before we learned to spell laminated. We ate grilled cheese, the kind you get when your mouth needs a flat line. We did not talk about suspects. We talked about Nate's condemned affection for impractical wrenches. Halfway through, Hernan texted, "Insurer produced agent notes in full. Monday caller used term contingent vesting accurately. Not common. Appending to packet." Then a second bubble. Also, bank confirms attempted call from local ending 7391 belongs to a prepaid account purchased last week at a big box store. Disposable numbers. Someone shopping for anonymity in the aisle between toothpaste and temptation. I forwarded the updates to Riley and returned to Liam with the news the way you return to a table with a refill. Routine and necessary. He didn't ask, "What does it mean?" He asked, "What do we do next?" Which is the very good question you ask when meaning is a luxury and method is not. 1:37 p.m. Jenna. We drove by Jenna's, Cassie's wine night friend, on the way back. I didn't plan to interrogate her. I planned to borrow a minute of her porch. She was out front watering a plant that does well with neglect. "Eve," she said, eyebrows doing that tender thing people think is helpful. "How are you holding up?" "Upright," I said. "Quick question. Did you and Cassie have wine night last Wednesday?" She winced. "We tried. I canceled last minute. Stomach thing," she said. Texted her at 6:28 to say sorry. She said, "No problem, already on my way there anyway," which sounded off. But she said she needed to run an errand and clear her head. Jenna shrugged. "Plants are better at secrets than friends are." "Thank you," I said, and meant it like a stamp on an envelope. Back home, I added, "Item 11, Jenna TX'd 6:28 p.m. Last wed, canceled. Cassie already on way, plus needed to run an errand." Errand is a word that tries to be dull while doing cardio. 2:15 p.m. The search we didn't ask for. Liam stood in the doorway like a person who'd found a fire in an oven that wasn't on. "Our family tablet," he said, lifting it like a guilty loaf of bread. "We use it for recipes. Cassie uses it when she doesn't want to lug her laptop." He showed me the browser history, not because he'd invaded her privacy, but because she hadn't thought to clear a communal device. Tuesday night, 10:17 p.m. Contingency clause beneficiary, meaning simple. What happens if person dies before document is signed? How to block caller ID iPhone. Call from home, Wi-Fi show as home. Beneficiary revert, probate hold time frame. I didn't high-five evidence. I didn't cheer. I took photos with timestamps and added Item 12, family tablet, browser history, screenshots. Hernan wrote excellent when I sent him the images, which is lawyer for please don't touch anything until I say go. 3:04 p.m. The wrong detail in the wrong mouth. Cassie texted me for the first time all day. "Thinking of you. I know you're busy with calls and such. If it helps, I can finish that policy inquiry we started. Just need to know the exact date, times for their notes." They said something about a Monday call, right? Around noon? And wasn't there a toll at 7:41? I can collect everything in one email. A heart and a notepad emoji. I stared at the 7:41 on my screen the way a locksmith stares at a key that already knows the lock. We had never told her that toll time. Liam hadn't. I hadn't. Riley hadn't. The tomato magnet had, but only to the kitchen. I let the text sit like a fish on a dock and did not answer. Instead, I took screenshots and forwarded to Hernan and Riley with a single line. She volunteers 7:41 unprompted. Riley's reply arrived with the energy of a man who liked clocks. Good. That's knowledge not publicly shared. Catalog it. Don't bite. Hernan's was pure procedure. We use this in terms. Volunteered specific, not provided. Strengthens inference of access, plus intent. 3:40 p.m. The voice we could name. Riley called from his car. "Ran the Monday audio through a friend's ear," he said. "Off the record. She's worked call center QA for 10 years. She clocked 2 tells. A micro pause before contingent vesting, like she was reading, and a false uplilt on wonderful, more consistent with closure than relief. Also, she thinks the voice is a match to a voicemail Cassie left her 2 months ago about a neighborhood watch thing." He cleared his throat. "Not evidence. Direction. Direction is all I need until paper grows badges," I said. 4:05 p.m. The coin with the C. I went to the garage because some details only resolve in the air that made them. The coins waited with the patience of metal. I rolled them in my palm, the way Nate liked to, as if money were a rosary. The one with the hairline C-scratch caught the light again. Yesterday, I'd refused to crown it with meaning. Today, I set it next to the cloth bag and noticed a tiny snag in the fabric along the drawstring seam, new enough to look embarrassed. I imagined a ring, Cassie's, catching there as she opened it. A ring she never takes off. A ring I've watched trace the binder tabs she loves, not proof, texture. I took a photo anyway, bag seam, scratch, coin, and filed it under item 13, cloth bag snag, photo, with a note, don't overstate. 4:40 p.m., putting the packet in order. Hernan likes chronologies that tell a story without adjectives. I laid everything out on the island like an archaeological dig. Fry, 5 p.m. Nate texts Liam, maybe late. Fry, 6:05 p.m. Cassie leaves, 6:14 returns, 6:17 leaves again, door cam. Fry, 7:38, 7:43 p.m. Pump cam shows Cassie's SUV, profile at wheel, partial plate. Fry, 7:41:03 p.m. Toll still, SUV with Be Kind sticker. Fry, 7:18 p.m. First 911 about single vehicle incident. Mon, 11:12 a.m. Insurer call. Female voice asks about death before execution. Last word, wonderful. 2:10:03, 10:17 p.m. Family tablet searches. Contingency clause. Block caller ID. Reversion. Wed, 2:03 p.m. Bank call. Failed beneficiary verification. Local number tied to prepaid. Wed, 6:12 and 6:19 p.m. Cassie's laptop connects to home Wi-Fi from driveway. Wed, 6:16 p.m. Insurer voicemail from masked number. Request after-hours callback. Today, 3:04 p.m. Cassie texts me the specific toll time 7:41, a detail she should not know. I printed the list and labeled it timeline, no adjectives. Then I slid it behind the kitchen table terms in the terms folder. Paper likes to stand next to paper that makes it look taller. 5:10 p.m. The practice of calm. Liam and I rehearsed a conversation that hadn't happened yet. I played me. He played himself. The empty chair across the island played Cassie. I set the audio recorder in the center. Plain sight. The way we would when it was time. Cassie, I said to Air, before we begin, we record. We record because paper and audio make it fair. If you don't want to be recorded, we pause and invite Detective Riley in. The chair did not object. Liam swallowed in rhythm with the fridge's compressor. Here are terms, I continued, reading without heat. Confession and cooperation. Full account of calls, movement, knowledge, or we proceed with paper and police. You will renounce any claim to the benefit the clause would have handed you. You will reimburse costs. You will agree to a no contact with insurer, bank, without counsel present. You will agree to civility and safety, and you will tell the truth while the porch light is on. I set the list down. Liam looked at me like I had turned a storm into a dotted line. And if she denies? He asked. Then we stay boring, I said. We let Riley serve warrants. We let Hernan file motions with titles long enough to scare anyone who likes shortcuts. We do not scream. We do not improvise. What if she cries? He asked, small. Then we hand her water, I said, and we keep the recorder on. He nodded, took a breath that clicked like a new hinge, and said the thing he hadn't said all day. I loved her, he said, past tense raw. Then, after a long and honest pause, I don't know if I do. You don't have to decide tonight, I said, the way you talk to someone standing on both sides of a river. Tonight we prepare. 6:02 p.m. Preparation looks like life. We ate the soup Cassie had left because pettiness isn't a macronutrient. I used a different ladle than the one she'd touched. Liam watched me label a Ziploc soup, Cassie, porch, 8:13 p.m., unopened till now, and smiled in spite of himself. You're relentless, he said. I'm careful, I corrected. Relentless has a soundtrack. Careful makes lists. I printed 3 copies of everything. Timeline, inventory, terms, insurer audio transcripts, bank summaries, router CSV. 1 set for Hernan, 1 for Riley, 1 for the table. I bought a legal pad last year because yellow reminds me of school, and school is where I learned that any mess can be made less messy with a margin. 7:14 p.m. A door knock that didn't knock. The porch camera chimed. A figure at the edge of frame, not approaching, lingering. A phone to an ear. A glance toward my porch light, set to dim. The figure didn't ring. The figure left. The clip saved. I texted Riley. Visitor. No ring. He thumbs upped the way men do when they're driving in the direction of something they can't legally say yet. 7:41 p.m. I let the minute pass. I stood by the fridge and watched 7:41 click over on the oven display, then on the microwave, then on my phone. The tomato magnet kept its grip like an old friend who knows you like to stare at pain until it blinks first. The minute ticked into the next, and nothing cosmic happened, which is the point, to separate numbers from superstition before you let them testify. 8:03 p.m. The ask. I texted Cassie. Eve. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. My kitchen. I'll have Hernan on speaker and a recorder on the counter. We're going to organize facts for the insurer and the bank so they stop calling the wrong people. Please come. It will be calm and boring. Cassie. Of course. So glad to help. Do you want me to bring the binder? Eve. Yes. Bring the binder. Her reply came fast, like relief with legs. Wonderful. The same word from the insurer call. The same false uplift my ear now recognized as a person congratulating themselves quietly. I set the phone down, as if it were part of the exhibit, and walked to the doorway where a little brass plate says, Threshold. I traced the letters with my toe, a ritual that has started to feel less like superstition and more like a contract. Tomorrow, I told the house. No theater, just rails. Liam stood beside me, smaller than I remember him being when we were all younger, and none of our stories had court filings. Do you want me here? He asked. I do, I said. Not because I can't do this without you, because it's yours too. He nodded, which is brother for thank you, for not making me guess my lines. 9:17 p. Mine last checks. I emailed Riley the packet with a subject he'd appreciate. Timeline, no. Adjectives, V1. I sent Hernan the terms with a request for final language. I set the recorder's batteries on the island like talismans. I checked the spare set because men like Riley taught me redundancy is love in a different outfit. The house made that small nocturnal sound like two wires agreeing. I turned the porch light to dim and imagined it as a metronome. Not verdict, not vengeance, just time keeping time while people tell the truth. As I turned off the kitchen light, my phone buzzed once more. A message from an unknown number. See you at 11. Don't be dramatic. No name, no punctuation, humility. I screenshot and sent it to Riley. He wrote back one word I've started to treat like a blessing. Cataloged. I left the phone face up beside the recorder. They looked like witnesses resting before court. In bed, I listened to the house and to myself, and to the way a plan can be loud even when you're quiet. Nate's voice from the Audio 17s ran its loop. No back doors, I want it clean. I whispered the promise back. Clean, I said to the dark. Slow, and under my light. Calm isn't a feeling, it's a setting. I set it. Coffee on. 3 glasses of water. Recorder in plain sight at the center of the island. On top of the stack, timeline, no adjectives. Beneath it, inventory, insurer audio transcripts, bank call summary, router CSV, pump cam still, toll still, Jenna text, and finally the kitchen table terms. Cassie's white arrangements binder waited beside them like a prop. I texted Hernan a photo. He replied, facts are chairs. Everyone gets one. Detective Riley. Nearby at 10:55. If you want me in, say, we need more chairs. Be boring. 10:58. Liam arrived early and took the brother's stool. We reviewed the rules. Facts, not feelings. Questions in the yes, no, I don't know shape. He nodded. The porch camera pinged. Cassie, beige blazer, hair polished, binder under arm. She glanced at the dim porch light as if dim were an opinion, then knocked. Her hug in the doorway was choreography without contact. We're recording, I said, tapping the device. Hernan was already on speaker. If you prefer not to be recorded, we can pause and invite Detective Riley. Recorded is fine, she said brightly. Transparency is good. She sat opposite me and placed the binder like a credential. We'll go chronologically. I slid the timeline to center. I'll read. If you know a fact, say it. If not, say you don't. Wonderful, she said. Friday 5 p.m. Nate texts Liam. Might be late. Liam nodded. 6:05. Cassie leaves. 6:14 returns, 6:17 leaves again. I showed the door cam stills. I forgot my purse. Went back, she said, easy. 7:38, 7:43. Quick fuel pump cam shows your SUV. 7:41:03. Route 90 toll still, same model, be kind, sticker lower left. I slid the frames. She glanced, then minimized. Lots of SUVs, she said. Lots of decals. I didn't argue. Monday 11:12 a.m. Insurer call from local number. Female voice asks, what if insured dies before a beneficiary change is signed? Ends with, wonderful. Transcript down. Wednesday 2:03 p.m. Bank call from different local number. Attempted verify beneficiary. Failed challenge. Summary down. Wednesday 6:12-6:19. Your MacBook auto joins home Wi-Fi from the driveway. 6:16 insurer receives masked voicemail asking for after-hours callback about reversion to designated party. Router CSV and voicemail transcript down. 6:28. Jenna cancels wine night. You reply you're already on the way and need to run an errand. His silence did its job for a full beat. This is very organized, Cassie said, compliment as tactic. The insurer was confusing Monday. I actually thought you might want me to finish that call. I wrote down 7:41 when I heard it to be thorough. She tapped her binder, pleased with herself. How did you hear 7:41? I asked, level. From the report? She tried. The report lists 7:18, I said. 7:41 exists on the toll, a pump cam you're seeing now, and my fridge. The flicker behind her eyes was a small animal stepping back from the highway. Hernan's voice stayed gentle. We'll shift to questions. Please answer yes, no, or I don't know. She smiled like someone offering hors d'oeuvres. Of course. Did you call Nate's insurer on Monday 11:12 a.m. from a local number to ask what happens if an insured dies before a beneficiary change is signed? A sip of water. I called to ask general questions about our policy. Yes, no, or I don't know, I repeated. She held my gaze, then the recorder's red dot. Yes, she said, for us. Did you use the phrases contingent vesting and reversion to designated party? I may have repeated what the agent said. The notes attribute those terms to the caller, Hernan said. Her pupils rehearsed. Then, yes, she said finally. Did you attempt to verify beneficiary with the bank on Wednesday 2:03 p.m. using a local prepaid number? I don't recall the exact time. Yes, no, or I don't know. No, she said. I was making notes to help you. Did your laptop connect to home Wi-Fi from the driveway 6:12-6:19 p.m. Wednesday? That's likely, she said. It auto-joins. Did you leave a voicemail for the insurer at 6:16 from a masked number asking for an after-hours callback? I don't know. Did you stop at Quick Fuel Friday 7:38, 7:43? I asked. We all buy gas, she said, smiling without cheeks. Then to Liam. Sweetheart, tell them we've been trying to help. Facts, Liam said quietly. She pivoted. Here's a fact. Nate took that turn too fast constantly. She felt my face not moving and adjusted. I'm devastated, Eve. I took on calls to keep you from drowning. Why did you ask the insurer about death before execution? I asked. For Liam, she said, warm and practiced. I heard the brothers talk once about splitting something. If papers weren't signed, I didn't want my husband left with nothing. What exactly did you hear? A plan to divide assets, she said. They were in the garage. I was getting recycling. I didn't linger. Did you know there was a contingency clause that would revert Nate's portion to Liam if Nate died before execution? No, she said. Then softer. Not exactly. I asked the insurer for you. Why did you text me 7:41 yesterday? I asked. We hadn't given you that number. She opened the binder, a reflex, and flipped tabs. A receipt slid out and skated across the island. Big box wireless, prepaid, local, $39.99, date 2 days before Nate died. Her hand shot to grab it. I covered it with my palm. How did you know 7:41? I asked again. I guessed, she said. You guessed to the minute, I said evenly. That's a rare gift. Her smile wavered. I came to help, she said. I have nothing to hide. Good, Hernan said. Then terms. I set the kitchen table terms between us and read in the voicecom uses. 1. Confession and cooperation on record. Full account of calls, purchases, movements. Friday 6:08 p.m. and any knowledge of Nate's route. 2. Renunciation of any claim to proceeds or advantage from the contingency clause or misrepresentation. 3. restitution of induced costs, legal, administrative. 4. No contact with insurer, bank without counsel present. 5. Civility and safety, no harassment, no unannounced visits, police mediation if needed. 6. Tell the truth while the porch light is on. I placed a pen. The pen waited. Absolutely not, she said, standing. Classic move to raise the floor. This is absurd. You're accusing me of, what, caring? Protecting my home? No accusations, I said. Just time and paper. She tried a new door. Maybe the bank erred. Maybe the insurer mislogged. Maybe the toll clock is off. You said systems glitch. Grief hires maybe, I said. I've reduced staff. Her phone lit face down. Local unknown. She flipped it over and smothered the screen with her palm. Who's that? Liam asked, forgetting the script. Work, she said too fast. Errands. Cass, Liam said softly. Please. She deflated a notch, then chose a different sentence. I didn't touch him, she said quickly. I didn't do anything to his car. She looked at me with a small triumph, as if her verb had found daylight. I asked questions. I was scared. We have nothing. They were talking about splitting something huge, and then I learned there was a clause, and if he died, she heard it as she said it, and shut the door on her own grammar. You learned there was a clause when? Hernan asked. After, she said. After the accident. From who? Silence. She smoothed her blazer sleeve until it had nothing left to forgive. The prepaid receipt peeked from under my hand like a timid witness. Cassie, I said, letting the porch lights hum be the metronome. No anger here, no theater, just rails. Confess and cooperate, sign renunciation, agree no contact, restitution, civility. Or we proceed with paper and police. If you prefer an officer present now, say, we need more chairs. Her eyes moved over the stack. Pump cam, toll, calls, router, Jenna, the text where she'd gifted herself 741 and settled on Liam. You do this to me? She asked him, quieter than I expected. I'm not doing anything to you, he said. I'm telling the truth. She looked back at the pen. For a second, the room chose mercy. Her hand hovered over the signature line, trembled, retreated. I want a lawyer, she said. Good, Hernan answered. You should have one. We'll email these terms to your counsel. She pulled the binder to her chest, a shield finally doing the job it was designed for. I'm leaving, she said. Don't contact me again without my attorney. Agreed, I said. And do not contact the insurer or bank. That's term 4, whether you sign today or tomorrow. She turned. At the door she paused, then swung back for one more try. You think you're the only one who loved him, she said. You're not. I don't think that, I said. I think love doesn't call on Monday to learn how death turns into money. Her mouth pressed a line. The porch camera chimed faintly through the phone. Someone passing, no knock. She left without another word. The house settled around the absence the way homes do when they prefer quiet to applause. I didn't let my shoulders celebrate. I pressed stop on the recorder, labeled the file, and slid it into the terms folder. Liam exhaled like air remembered him. What now? He asked. Now we email Riley and Hernan the recording and the prepaid receipt photo, I said. We ask Riley to move for warrants, phone, prepaid purchase, plate from the pump cam. We keep the porch light dim. We stay boring. He nodded, eyes shining in a way that didn't require tissues. Thank you, he said. I stacked the papers square. On top, I placed a single page. Timeline. No adjectives. Beneath it, I tucked the pen Cassie didn't use. My phone vibrated. Unknown number, local. A single text arrived. You're making a mistake. I screenshotted, forwarded to Riley. His reply came back fast. Copy. Sit tight. This just got easier. I set the phone beside the recorder, 2 small witnesses cooling, and rested my palm on the brass plate by the doorway. Threshold. Clean, I whispered to the empty room. Slow, under my light. The house felt lighter the next morning, the way a room does after a storm that didn't flip the furniture. I set the recorder where it usually sleeps now, by the fruit bowl, plain as a spoon, and opened the terms folder to the page Cassie hadn't signed. The pen she didn't use lay across the line like a bridge that never finished spanning. 8:12 a.m. Riley. Warrants are moving, he said, voice with coffee in it. We've got the prepaid receipt photo in the packet, and Quick Fuel gave me a better pump cam clip. Plates clean and registered to Liam and Cassie. We'll pull sell pings for Friday 6 to 9 p.m. and Monday 11 a.m. We'll also subpoena the masked call vendor for Wednesday 6:16 p.m. And I've already asked the insurer for the raw audio with metadata. What happens next? I asked. Because I like steps, even when one of them is a cliff you walk down on purpose. If the pings put her where your paper says she was, he said, we'll ask for a conversation under caution. If counsel blocks, we hand it to the DA with timeline plus intent and move on probable cause for attempted beneficiary fraud and possibly homicide if collision reconstruction lets us. I can't promise the second. I can promise the first. Attempted money by death, I said. It's not an official charge, but it's the right title. He breathed out, a sound like a badge nodding. Hold steady, he said. You're doing the rare thing, boring under pressure. 9:03 a.m. Hernan. He'd redlined the kitchen table terms with lawyerly restraint and turned them into formal terms of cooperation. New title, same bones, heavier signatures. Send this to Cassie's counsel with the recording attached, he said. Subject, offer to resolve civil exposure and minimize criminal exposure. Lawyers read subject lines like weather. And if they ignore it? I asked. Then we litigate the estate issues and let Riley and the DA carry the criminal, he said. Parallel rails. I sent the email, then set my phone face up, because surprise is a spice I no longer keep in the house. 10:11 a.m. Liam stood in my doorway with a paper bag of bagels he remembered I like, tentative as a truce. He hovered until I invited him in. Habit now, the courtesy we owe each other when the ground used to be the same under both our feet. Any news? He asked. Warrants, I said. I poured him coffee like a blessing you can drink. He turned the pen Cassie didn't touch end over end, then set it down gently as if it had nerves. If they, he didn't finish. Some sentences need outcomes before they can be born. If she confesses, we're done faster, I said. If she doesn't, it's paper, and then police, and then court, which is also an honest end. Either way, you're cleared in the story that matters. Mine. I didn't mean it to be generous. I meant it to be accurate. He closed his eyes like someone thanking a roof. 11:47 a.m. Cassie's counsel. A brisk email. We represent Cassandra Hart. They still used my last name for her. Grief often forgets paperwork. Your terms are inflammatory and premised on unfounded allegations. Do not contact our client directly. All communications through our office. Attached, a PDF titled Statement of Denial, 3 paragraphs of air dressed as argument. They threatened a defamation action if we repeated false accusations. Hernan forwarded it to Riley with a line I liked. Adding frosting does not bake a cake. 12:36 p.m. Riley again. Sell pings in, he said. Friday 7:40 p.m. puts Cassie's phone on the tower by the toll. Monday 11 to 12 a.m. puts her in range of their house, which matches a local call. We also have the vendor on the masked number, purchased with a prepaid debit at the same big box the SIM came from, activated Wednesday 5:58 p.m. We're short of a frame with her hand on a wheel and a confession, but we've got a bridge. Bridge to what? I asked. To a sit-down, he said. I'm going to ask her counsel for a voluntary interview. If the answer is no, we'll move to compel. Either way, your rails are holding. 1:10 p.m. A life admin intermission. I paid the light bill. I watered the plant in the window Nate used to declare unkillable. I wiped the stove. The rituals were not avoidance. They were ballast. When drama knocks, ballast keeps the floors from remembering how to tilt. 2:02 p.m. A small sound that mattered. My email pinged with a brief note from the insurer. Per your counsel's request, we have formally flagged the policy. No changes, inquiries, or payouts permitted without in-person dual verification and counsel present. Additionally, recorded calls are preserved. We extend our condolences. It read like a corporate card and felt like a lock clicking. I printed it and slid it behind inventory. Paper likes badges, locks like witnesses. 3:19 p.m. Cassie blinked. Her lawyer called Hernan. I listened on speaker, hands flat on the counter to keep them from editorializing. No admission, the lawyer said, but our client would consider renunciation of any claim related to the clause in exchange for stipulating that no assertion of wrongdoing will be published. He stacked legal adjectives around the request like pillows around a glass. So your client would give up the money, Hernan said. if we promise to never say why she tried to take it. Allegedly, the lawyer corrected. No, Hernan said, gentle as a rubber mallet. Not a quid pro quo. My client's terms remain: confession and cooperation on record, renunciation, restitution, no contact, civility. If your client prefers to sign only renunciation, we will accept that as a civil remedy and leave the criminal to the state. But we will not barter our right to the truth for money we already control. The lawyer exhaled through teeth I could hear. We'll revert, he said. Calls end with verbs when there's nothing pretty to put after them. 4:07 p.m. The truth arrives in work clothes. Riley again. We're at counsel's office, he said softly. They decided to produce her for a short interview with me and a recorder. She's saying she called to clarify for Eve. She's denying the bank call. She's hedging on the masked voicemail. And she says she was at Quick Fuel because she had low gas and didn't want to wake up to a light. You have the plate, I said. I do, he said. I also have a still of her checking her phone in the driver's seat at 7:39. When I asked if she had spoken with anyone about beneficiaries before Friday, she said no. When I told her we have browser history from the family tablet Tuesday, she went quiet long enough to sponsor silence. Does she think silence is a legal argument? I asked. It's a common misunderstanding, he said. We're done for today. Counsel asked me to submit our questions in writing. He paused. Eve, this doesn't end cleanly, always, but it ends. I don't need clean, I said. I need true. Clean is gravy. 6:30 p.m. The rails pay out. Hernan forwarded a new email thread. Subject, renunciation, executed. 2 PDFs. Renunciation of claim, beneficial interest, signed by Cassandra Hart, notarized. Stipulation agreeing to no contact with insurer, bank without counsel, plus a non-interference clause. She will not contest inventory, ledger, or draft intent. No confession, no cooperation. But a door closed with a legal latch. Civil side is done, Hernan said on the phone. She's out of the money and out of the way. Riley will keep going on the criminal side. Even if DA doesn't touch homicide, attempted beneficiary fraud is paper with teeth. I read the renunciation twice, then a third time with the part of my brain that believes in punctuation. My heart didn't do fireworks. It put its tools away in order. 7:12 p.m. The share as promised. Liam stood at the island as if approaching a church he wasn't sure he believed in. I laid out the original draft share with Nate's handwriting. Intent, Dracher 50-50, delay only. And beside it, a memo of intent Hernan had formatted. Eve to execute the plan Nate made. 50% to Liam, carve out to charity if desired, remainder for rails and roof. You don't have to, Liam said, eyes red the way old maps are red around the edges. The law, he trailed. I'm not doing law, I said. I'm doing intention. He wanted it clean. He wanted it slow. No back doors. I can't give him back the Monday call. I can give him the math he wrote in the margin. He cried like men do when their bodies learned young that crying is a private verb. He covered his eyes and said thank you in a dozen small languages people use when they run out of syllables. We signed notices Hernan drafted for the probate judge, attaching the draft share, the memo of intent, and a declaration from me about the safe, the ledger, and the clause with its star. Hernan filed them with the kind of email subject that makes clerks feel seen. 8:01 p.m. Letter to Nate. Grief is a terrible stenographer unless you hand it paper. I sat at the table and wrote to my husband like the living do when the dead are still listening. Nate, I opened your safe. You made it boring. Thank you. I found the clause. I found the ledger. I found your voice saying, no back doors. I want it clean. I tried to build a house around that sentence. You were right about money. It makes small people feel big and big people feel small. Cassie is not a villain from a book. She is a person who mistook a sentence for permission. She signed herself out of our home's weather. Riley will decide if the state wants anything else from her. I don't. Liam is not who suspicion wanted him to be. He stood still. He told the truth. He touched the doorframe the way you do. I will honor your margin note. Intent, 1 ears 50-50. I will also donate the stubborn part of you, the part that saved coffee cans of screws, to a place where kids learn how to fix things. I found a scratch shaped like C on a coin. Once, I would have turned that into a prophecy. Now, it's just a scratch. Thank you for teaching me to love paper more than theater. The porch light is set to dim. It's the level for thresholds. I can't promise this house won't break again. I can promise no secrets. Come sit with me in the slice of night where the fridge hums and people tell the truth because the light is kind. E. I tucked the letter behind inventory because I liked the idea of someone finding it in a future that has less appetite for drama. 9:22 p.m. A call I didn't expect exactly. The porch camera chimed. Cassie, alone, on the sidewalk under the maple. She didn't come to the door. She didn't hold her phone. She stood like people stand when their shadow's weight confuses their ankles. I didn't invite her in. Term 5, civility and safety, also speaks to me. She looked up at the window, and for the first time since the funeral, let her face go undecorated. Not pretty, not ugly, true, which isn't a face so much as the absence of make-believe. She mouthed sorry once, not toward the camera but toward the house. Then she turned and went down the walkway without any choreography. I didn't follow. The porch light stayed dim. Mercy lives there, but so do rails. 10:03 p.m. Riley's closure for now. DA will likely file attempted insurance beneficiary fraud, he said. We're still looking at the collision, but unless a tip or a new piece lands, homicide stays unproven. You gave us a clean case anyway. People underestimate clean. I don't, I said. Keep your recorder handy a week, he added. Sometimes endings rattle the cage. I promised, and I will. The weeks that came after didn't ask for applause. They asked for envelopes, signatures, receipts that don't photograph well, because honesty is allergic to filters. We executed the memo of intent before the probate judge, who watched me like I might be an alien, and then realized I wasn't. Liam bought a second-hand truck without the old guilt that made him pick bad tires. I sent a check to the community tool library with a note about wrenches that don't make financial sense and men who do. The insurer sent a letter that read, like apology without liability. The bank sent a new set of dual auth fobs that beep like the sound a heart makes when it chooses rails. The safe live's open now, not because I'm fearless, but because it's done pretending to be a dog. The cloth bag with the tiny snag sits in a drawer. I haven't thrown it away. Some objects want to testify forever. You let them if they learn to whisper. I kept one coin, not the one with the C. A different one, smooth with fingerprints, ordinary in a way only something handled often can be. I keep it in my pocket when I go out at night. When I touch it, I remember that money is a tool, not a god, and that grief is a weather, not a verdict. People ask, softly, at the grocery store, the post office, in the church lot where rumors are baptized, was it an accident? I say the only sentence that doesn't require me to rehearse. The truth is on paper. Then I smile like a person who has stopped auditioning for anyone's doubt. At home, I put a small brass plate by the front door. Threshold. I rub it with my thumb on the way out and the way in. Neighbors think it's cute. It's not. It's a rule. On quiet nights, I play the Audio 17s once, no more. I let no back doors. I want it clean, climb the walls and sit down. I answer out loud, because houses like dialogue, clean, slow, under my light. The porch stays dim, which is bright enough for honesty and dark enough for rest. I didn't raise my voice. I raised documents. I didn't perform. I preserved. I didn't get revenge. I got rails. And I learned slowly, with the patience paper taught me, that love isn't proven by who cries loudest at a funeral. It's proven by who keeps their hands steady when a safe opens and a sentence tries to become a crime. If you're watching this from a kitchen where a binder sits like a prop and a magnet holds a time that makes your stomach think it's a clock, hear my face without a mask. You can do this boring, and boring will save you. I locked the door, traced threshold once, and turned the porch light one notch lower. Not dark, not bright. Enough.